I want to get into Yooka-Laylee. Callie, you mentioned it, and then you also talk a lot about Banjo-Kazooie and Tooie in the office, and you agree with me that Kazooie is the inferior one of the two.
Don't talk to me.
Anyway, before we get into that argument, which I'm going to win, what does Yooka-Laylee, the main question I want to know is, obviously it's the people that used to work on Banjo-Kazooie and Tooie when it was rare, and they were working on those as the 3D platformers kind of in the N64 days. But now Playtonic has formed, and it's people that work there, and they're working on Yooka-Laylee, which is very much like an obvious spiritual successor to Banjo-Kazooie, but how much does that translate into the gameplay from what you've seen so far?
Yeah, so from what I've played, I wouldn't say it's really reference heavy. I was surprised. I thought there'd be more references, like direct references to Banjo games, but it's more in spirit. And Grant Kirkhope, who did composing for the original, returned to do sound design and composing for this one. So that is very much the same, and the menus are all the same. And so it's very much Banjo in style rather than in actual content, if that makes sense. But there's also, like, at the beginning you can do a quiz game. So at the end of Banjo-Kazooie, there's like a final quiz thing. Grunty's Furnace fun. Because I know that whole game.
That ending is one of the reasons I don't like that game as much as Tooie.
I'm a big nerd. I love taking quizzes.
But to win a game, though? was like
Yeah.
the SATs, were those a game to you?
I got a 2200 without studying.
2200, that's not possible.
Yeah.
1600 was the max.
No, the
for
numbers
me.
No,
changed.
you're
a
not
few
that
years
much
ago.
older than me, Mike.
Yeah,
The max
numbers
for me
changed.
was 1600, I promise you.
No, you're not that much older than me.
I promise. Okay. All right.
Anyway, so there's like a quiz.
In that case, I got a really bad score. I should not have gone to college or be here right now.
Anyway, but so there's like I said, it's mostly in how it's done rather than what the content is so far, which is a little contrary to what I was expecting. I was expecting more Easter eggs, and I haven't really seen that.
The UI looked just Banjo-Kazooie.
It's exactly the same.
Yeah.
The sound effects are the same. Yuka sort of sounds like sexy Grunty when you die in Banjo-Kazooie. You know, she's like, oh.
Yep.
It sounds like that. Yeah, it's very similar.
Well, when you're doing the actual, when the dialogue pops up, it's those talking heads next to those like lines of dialogue scrolling.
You know, like Comic Sans looking font. Yeah.
What about the structure of the game so far? You said there's like this hub world, but from what I played a preview last year, it was still pretty early build, but it seemed like it was more geared. Aren't you rather than these areas existing and they're item gated by like jiggies or whatever it is in this game? Aren't you getting pages that build on the world itself? I forgot how they explained it to me, but do you have any more insight into that?
Yeah, so it's less linear. Not that Banjo-Kazooie is strictly linear, but basically you're finding pages instead of jiggies. It's a very similar structure, but you can unlock like an expanded version of the world. So like you'll be exploring a world, and there will be a point where you can't go any farther, but you can see like, oh, I'm supposed to go over there, but there's no way for me to get over there. You have to spend the pages, I think is what they're called, to expand it and like open up a new area. And then, but you can also choose not to do that and just go on to the next world. So you can do it in any order you want. And I would like to point out that the snake's name is Trouser.
I don't get it.
Yeah.
How's the camera? Because I played the toolbox, I think whatever they released, and the camera was like not good, and it was just like, the camera needs to be good for this.
Camera is janky so far.
Really?
Yeah.
Which worries me, because 3D platformers are pretty much made or broken by their camera.
I was playing yesterday and I was capturing, and I was like, whoever's going to edit this footage is going to think I'm super bad at this game, because the camera was just kind of flying all over the place. And some points. And there was also a weird thing where like this is Tribal Stack Tropics, I think it's called, and rip.
Was that you playing?
That's called Endless Abyss.
That might have been me playing, I don't know. But there's like an area where the camera's just fixed for no reason. And so when you come out of it, like the camera like flew around, and I was like, what's going on? Oh, also you have to spray pollen on these flowers.
Yeah, here's another very Banjo thing, the transformations that Mumbo used to do.
Yeah.
So how's like it feel mechanically though from your initial impressions?
I mean, it's very similar. It's all about collectibles. I think my biggest, I wouldn't say concern, but the thing I'm hung up on is, would I enjoy it if I wasn't such a big Banjo person? Just because that's like a childhood game of mine. And the other thing is like I'm playing this and I'm sort of like, oh man, I kind of just want to play banjo. And that's worrying me a little bit. Of course, I'm going to keep playing. And I'm very early on in ukulele, but those are two big questions. And then the other question is like, if you didn't play Banjo-Kazooie, like what does this offer you?
Sure. Yeah, it's kind of like playing Mass Effect Andromeda makes me want to play Mass Effect 2. And I don't know that that should be the case, but I don't know. That's kind of like, you know, I guess up to each person to judge. But overall, so I think you've played more of this game than you can talk about right now because your review will be up when?
The embargo is April 4th, so it's a while out.
Okay, cool. So you have a lot of time to play that. Final thoughts based on the preview going into like the next couple weeks. For say, I'm a person who really likes Banjo-Kazooie and Tooie, and I am wondering whether this game is worth my time so far. Obviously, you don't have the full review, but is it promising so far overall?
Yeah, I'd say so. I think it does enough to try to break away from the formula that might be a little dated. I mean, I think they took a lot of steps to make it like a little less linear and give you more options and try to make it modernized, but with that same humor and flavor. So that part is promising to me. And I think definitely if you really enjoy Banjo, it's probably worth taking a look at.
Cool. You're playing on what, Xbox One?
Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. So anybody, if you want to see more about Yooka-Laylee, we have a few interviews with Platonic devs from pretty much throughout the past year or so. We did like kind of do something on whether it might spark another slew of 3D platform games. But if you're interested in those, if you're interested in reading those, you can go check those out at GameSpot.com. And like Callie said, her review will be up on April 4th on GameSpot.com.